Hey everyone, Codeth here. This is my Chain Lightning leveling build for Diablo 4. This build's very beginner friendly, doesn't require any mythics or uniques whatsoever to get up to Torment, and does a decent amount of damage. So let's go over it. I'm going to show you what it looks like on these boss training dummies, kind of what the damage will look like for you. So we're pairing our Chain Lightning with Lightning Spear. Then we have these other utility spells and whatnot. Well, that's what it looks like, and here's that new Gregoire power that's shooting down from the sky. We'll go over that a little bit later. But anyway, let's lose aggro, so Rahir's not attacking them during this video. Okay. So, starting with the skills, we've got Teleport, of course. This is a mobility skill, obviously. Ice Armor, this gives us a barrier, and also mana regen, as well as Unstoppable, due to one of the aspects we have. Flame Shield is like another defensive. When you pop this, you're just like immune for 2 seconds, so nice defensive to have. Unstable Currents, this is our ultimate. This gives us, when we cast a shock skill, it'll summon like another shock skill, whether it's going to be like a core skill like Chain Lightning, or Charged Bolts, a Conjuration like Lightning Spear, or the Familiar, or a Mastery Shock skill like Ball Lightning, for example. And it also increases our attack speed too. Chain Lightning, this is going to be our core skill. This is going to be one of our damage dealers, but we're really using this to keep our Lightning Spear active paired with Unstable Current. So this is like our main rotation here. But let's go over the skill tree. So I have it on the planner. We are using Spark to level until you have enough sustain to drop Spark. So all the difference would be is you have Flickering Spark and Static Discharge, but I pretty much, as soon as you have enough sustain, either by the recharging aspect or elemental acuity, I'll go over that again later too, it's also in the guide, then you would drop those, and just your skill tree would look like this that we're about to go over. So starting up from the top, we just have 1 point into Spark, 1 into Enhanced, just so we can come down here. So we got 1 Chain Lightning, Enhanced, and Destructive. So this is going to give us our crackling energies. It's going to really help with that, because we want to get as much of those as we can. And next up, we have our Charged Bolts going into Enhanced and Destructive. This gives us damage reduction. So whenever we cast Unstable Currents and Charged Bolts come out, whenever they get hit by those Charged Bolts, they'll do reduced damage. So that's really helpful for our defensives. 1 point into Flame Shield, don't need any more than that. 1 into Teleport, Enhanced, and Shimmering for more damage reduction. 3 ranks into Glass Cannon to get that multiplicative damage increase. Trade-off is we do take more damage, but I think it's worth it. 1 point into Ice Armor, Enhanced for that mana regen, and Shimmering. So whenever we spend 50 mana, we'll reduce Ice Armor's cooldown. So essentially we're trying to get Ice Armor like later on down the line. Trying to get this like almost always active. That's what's going to keep us alive between Ice Armor and Flame Shield. Next up, we're going into Ice Blades, Enhanced Ice Blades, and Invoked Ice Blades. So this is going to tie into our enchantments. We're taking Ice Blade enchantment for one of them. So we're going to summon these Ice Blades while we're casting cooldowns, and it's also going to give us increased attack speed. We've got Align the Elements as well here for that damage reduction, and then protection here to give us more barrier when we use a cooldown. Barrier is going to be really important with this build. 5 ranks into Lightning Spear, because that's going to be our main damage dealer essentially. 1 into Enhanced, and then 1 into Roaring. That's why that crackling energy is so important. And then coming down here for our passives, Primordial Binding. We get damage, movement speed, and mana regen. Mana Shield as well for more damage reduction. We take on this over here, Inner Flames. You got a multiplicative damage increase while healthy. Healthy is defined as having more than 80% of your life, so when you have your barriers up, that's pretty much permanently active here. And down here, we're taking Permafrost. So as long as we have a Frost skill on our action bar, we deal 18x multiplicative increased damage, so our Frost Armor. Hoarfrost, increased damage to chilled and frozen enemies. We don't have any cold spells, but your Ice Blades will chill, so that helps with that. And then Icy Touch, increased damage to vulnerable enemies. Our Ice Blades are going to cause vulnerable. 3 points into elemental synergies for just increased multiplicative damage as well. Evocation for cooldown reduction. 5 ranks into unstable currents just to get the cooldown as low as possible. That's why you put the 5 ranks in there. Don't really care too much for the stun that it gives you. Hopefully they change that in the future. Get something more lucrative. Then 1 point into prime unstable currents for that increased attack speed while it's active. 1 into coursing currents, just like a chance to have crit chance. And then electrocution. This gives us damage reduction as well when we critically strike an enemy, similar to how charged bolts work for us. And then 3 points into convulsions. So you deal increased damage while you have crackling energy. So that's why we're going like pretty big in crackling energy a little bit, just for the passives. And then for our key passive, we have enlightenment. Yeah, this is giving us damage, mana regen, and attack speed as well. And I forgot to go over it when I went over the skills, but our enchantments, we're starting with ice blades. So as you can see here, every 40 seconds in cooldowns you spawn random ice blades on an enemy. And then we have Lightning Spear. So absorbing crackling energy has a 10% chance to conjure a Lightning Spear. That's why we're going big on the crackling energy. So you see we have it all like almost filled up here. And for our Paragon, as you can see, I'm like level what, 89? No, 61 Paragon. So this is still like leveling. I'm still progressing through the game. Paragon's not fully mapped out on my character, but it is available. I have it mapped out here up to 250. If you want to check out the guide, the link's in the description below. You can check that out at your leisure. We are using, I'll just go over this key stuff. We got Destruction on our first board. Second board is Static Surge and Tactician. Third board is Elemental Summoner with Elementalist. Fourth board we have Frigid Fate with Exploit. And then lastly, we have Searing Heat and Unleash. But yeah, once again, that's also on the build planner on Mobalytics, and I also have a leveling path here. Yeah, as you can see there. Yeah, good stuff, good stuff. Next up, let's go over the Mercenaries. So Mercenaries we have right here. I just went down to the left side to take advantage of the armor, extra armor you get, and the increased damage when he taunts enemies. So that works out for us. Because we're sorcerers, we stack intelligence, and intelligence just gives us resistance anyway. So we don't really need to go on this side for the all res. So we go to armor. For our reinforcement, we got Variana, and we have her for the attack speed buff. So whenever we cast Unstable Currents, this is going to give us attack speed, and Variana is going to give us attack speed. So pretty sweet. Good synergy there. Now let's go over the gear. So I did pick up a unique item. This was something I gambled for upon reaching Torment 1. I just waited till Torment 1 to use my obols to get the an off chance at getting Ancestrals, because you can't get Ancestrals unless you're in Torment. So I saved all of my obols until then, but I got to Torment without this. Starting from the top, we have Snow Veiled on our helmet. So this, whenever we cast Ice Armor, we get Unstoppable, and we get damage reduction for a certain amount of time here, up to 5 seconds. For our chest piece, we have Ever Living. You take less damage from crowd-controlled or vulnerable enemies. For our gloves, we have Storm Swell. Deal increased multiplicative damage while Ice Armor is active, and an additional bonus if they're frozen. For our pants, we have Concentration, so casting Conjuration skill gives us even further damage reduction. So as you can see, there's a theme here for our defensive slots. We're stacking damage reduction. For our boots, we have Orange Herald, so this is a lucky hit aspect. So it has a chance to reduce the cooldown of your ultimate skill by 2 seconds. Can only happen once per skill cast. So that's why we're spamming Chain Lightning while this is on cooldown, because we're trying to lower this cooldown as much as possible. For our weapon, I do recommend using a staff, because we're going to use Splintering Energy. And to get the full benefit from like this aspect, you want to either put it on your staff, or your next best bet would be an amulet if you wanted to do like a sword and a focus, for example. But yeah, for the temper, only had 1 temper. Did chance for Lightning Spear to deal double damage. As you're like leveling, it's going to be more important that you focus on the item power of your weapon, because that's going to increase your DPS. So when you get an upgrade, just keep moving your aspect, your Splintering Energy onto that aspect. Also, this is the first aspect that I went to get in a dungeon. So you can go here on your Codex of Power and type in splintering energy. So this, it doesn't show it here because I guess I have it unlocked already, but you get splintering energy from a dungeon. I think it does show it on Mobalytics though. Here, let me pull that up for you real quick. So if you highlight over this, yeah, you see that line here? Unlocked by completing Crumbling Hekma in Kyrgyzstan. So that's what I did when I first started. I did some of the seasonal stuff. Then I got two aspects. I got Splintering Energy, and then I also got Storm Swell, because I saw that was able to be unlocked in a dungeon. And then continuing on from that, we have our Amulet. I put Shredding Blades on here. Yeah, this gives us a chance to apply Vulnerable with our Shredding Blades. Also, we deal increased multiplicative damage to vulnerable enemies. Tal Rashas, if you don't have Tal Rashas, which you don't really need it for leveling, but it's nice to have, use Conceited. Conceited works just fine too. You get extra damage when you have a barrier active. We have so many barriers too, so this is almost like permanently active. And then lastly, you're going to want a resource aspect. So either recharging or elemental acuity. So recharging, whenever Chain Lightning bounces, you get mana. Or elemental acuity. Casting a shock, pyromancy, or frost skill increases your mana regen. So these are both good. This one, you will have to do a, or you can't get this from a dungeon, unfortunately. You'll have to get this from a drop to salvage. But yeah, either one of those that you get, that's going to help your sustain immensely, and you'll be able to drop Spark. And yeah, it's going to help your damage as well in the long term too, dropping that Spark. For our runes, this is just like leveling runes, what I came up with. This is not like endgame at all, but we've got Seer and Lum, so we'll cast 5 skills and restore some resource. And then on this, I have Sem and Gar. So we evade once, we'll increase our crit chance. So this is all I've like gotten so far, but I will transition this to a endgame build eventually. But so far I'm just rocking this and it's totally fine for me. For our gems, you just want your intelligence for your topazes on your armor. Make sure you put your runes on your weapon slot, because intelligence is more important than crit damage that you would get from emeralds on here. And then for your gems on your jewelry, just monitor your armor and your resistances. If your resistances are capped, which they will be eventually, because sorceresses, they do get resistance from intelligence, you will end up just putting all skulls in here eventually. And then through like your Paragon as well, you get a bunch of all res in there. Alright, and then lastly, let's go over the seasonal boss powers. This is like in a seasonal part of this build. There's probably going to, well, there will be like new mechanics further on if you're watching this in like season 9, 10, 11, 12, and so forth. But for leveling purposes, you're not going to have this until Torment 1. But I used Hatred's Embrace, Haste. This gives us crit chance when we have Shadow Res. Beastmaster's Training. This makes our summons deal more damage, so our Lightning Spear, for example. And then Cinnarat's Flames deal increased damage to all elements. So this one's, yeah, really ties into our build. I did have, when I was taking Spark, I was using this one right here, Alex Talons. So this was my main boss power, essentially, at the time. So I was casting a basic skill, would apply sparking damage. Then once I had enough mana, I dropped this for Blackmailer's Sabotage. So whenever we casted a core skill, when you had a barrier, it would just knock down close enemies. I wasn't really using this for too much, because shortly after I got my sustain all figured out, I got into Torment 1 and I fought Grig, and I got this lightning square power. This one's been really fun. But yeah, I think I'm going to stick with this one for a bit. And that's essentially, yeah, we went over the skills, Paragon, we went over the gear, and Mercenary, Seasonal Power, Enchantments. You got all that covered. Let's show a little bit how the rotation works. So you're going to cast your Unstable Currents, and you're going to spam your lightning, not your Chain Lightning. You're going to spam that. So that's going to be summoning additional Lightning Spears, additional Chain Lightnings, additional Charged Bolts, all of your like shock skills while that's active. And you want to make sure your barrier's up. try to monitor and keep your barrier up at all times, because that's what's gonna keep you alive in later difficulties as well. So I can almost keep this up active permanently by alternating ice armor and flame shield. It'll be a lot better once I have all my tempers though. Like I'll get ice armor duration, barrier generation on a lot of this stuff. That's also detailed in the guide as well on Mobalytics if you want to follow that link there. You can see all I have the like barrier generation, ice armor duration, all that defensive skills. But as you're like leveling, it's going to be like a balancing act, trying to get your armor and resistances capped or close to it. That's why you see I have like an armor temper on this. But that is the gist of the build. How about I show you some gameplay? And there you have it. Hope you enjoyed the video. I had a fun time making it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you have any questions, leave some down below or join the Discord. Feel free to ask in there. We have a lot of helpful people in the community. And as well as Twitch. Same name as the channel here, Codeth on Twitch. Feel free to follow there and ask around when I'm live. And yeah, thanks for watching. Take care, everyone. Peace.